You know, the land question has turned out to be a very steamy affair in the campaigns. Jubilee's presidential candidate, Uhuru Kenyatta, he's had to stave off claims, especially by his court competitors, that he is one of the perpetrators of land injustices in Kenya on the strength of the amount of land he is believed to own. And as Ferdinand Omondi now reports, that land question is most likely a huge headache for the Jubilee campaigns, especially in the coast region, where thousands are landless while the powerful continue to own thousands of acres.
Familiar scenes, familiar voices of desperation.
Wasiangalie tu title katika uamuzi, waangalie historia ya hii plot.
The people of the coast are an aggrieved lot.
Makaburi yako pale chungu nzima. Hata hao ambao wako nje wakishakufa wanazikwa hapa kwa sababu ni nyumbani.
The cry of a people who have been born and raised on pieces of land where their fathers and grandfathers were also born, raised and buried. They call this home, but a document called a title deed says a different thing. More often than not, ownership issues have ended up in courts, but rulings have always been in favor of the holders of the title deed, who are usually non-natives.
Sasa tunasema wakati wa mabwenyenye kunyakua ardhi, walanguzi wa ardhi kunyakua ardhi pwani, imekwisha.
The coastal people have always felt aggrieved that the system has exploited them, robbed them and displaced them from their ancestral land. The government has constantly come under the spotlight for abetting illegal and unfair land acquisition. A few individuals at the coast own thousands of acres of land, while hundreds of thousands of locals hardly own land big enough to dig their own graves. A 2009 government headcount puts squatters at 128,900. Mind, these are the registered ones. The exact number is way higher, going by the numbers of forceful evictions and disputes witnessed perennially in the region. Opponents of the Jubilee presidential candidate Uhuru Kenyatta have accused him of being one of the few owners of massive land holdings in Kenya. According to the respected business magazine Forbes, Uhuru Kenyatta owns at least 500,000 acres of prime land spread across the country. It further says his father, first President Jomo Kenyatta, acquired the land in the 1960s and 1970s when the British colonial government and the World Bank funded a settlement transfer fund scheme that enabled government officials and wealthy Kenyans to acquire land from the British at very low prices. Historians have accused Kenyatta of turning most of government land into personal property, awarding enormous amounts to himself, his family, relatives, friends and political allies. Indeed, in his book Usipoziba Ufa Utajenga Ukuta, Mwandawiro Mganga, a coastal researcher and activist, describes Jomo Kenyatta as the founding father of greed, land grabbing, inequalities, dictatorship, culture of exploitation of person by person, all evils that still haunt the country to this day. Uhuru's critics, particularly in the Court Alliance, have charged that the Jubilee presidential candidate is a direct beneficiary of this and by extension part of the injustice chain to coastal people. Uhuru himself has fought to deflect the debate about his family land holdings, often leaving it to his lieutenants to fight this war.
Mimi ndio nikamuuliza Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta, wakizunguka sema Kikuyu Libardhi na kuuliza wewe Uhuru, una ploti ngapi? Ploti moja, ploti tu. Wacha eka moja. Ka ploti kile tujenga kama hapa mjini hapa. Huko pwani yote iko nayo. Akasema sina hata ploti ya 50 by 100.
While Mwakwere admitted that many landowners at the coast, including his Kwale backyard, are not from the region, he insists these people legally acquired this land on a willing buyer, willing seller basis.
Usidanganywe kuwa Kikuyu waiba ardhi au Uhuru Kenyatta ni Mkikuyu, kwa sababu tuliwafuata wenyewe tukawauzia, lakini serikali yetu itarekebisha, tutawaomba wauze ardhi zingine wape tena wananchi ili wasiwe maskota na yafanyika Kenya kwingine.
A source at the Kenya Land Alliance believe large tracts of land associated with Uhuru are in Taita Taveta, the South Coast and the North Coast, but is quick to add that the title deeds bear names of companies associated with him or his kin and not necessarily Uhuru as an individual. The talking point, however, is that the people of Pwani remain aggrieved that most of their unsettled land is in the hands of persons whom they feel should not be holding the title deeds in their possession.
Hata mkisikia wengine wamejiunga MRC, ni dhulma kama hizi za kihistoria ambazo zimpita.
Uhuru Kenyatta can hardly deny that land associated with the Kenyattas in this country runs into hundreds of thousands of acres. And while his opponents will milk this to paint him as another land grabber, his campaign machinery has to show otherwise, or at least make sure that he does not become a victim of the perceived sins of the father. Ferdinand Omondi, KTN, Mombasa.